Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got an interesting show for you today, all about the SEC. Let's get right on into that. All right, the SEC is going to stay with the 8 games, and I think our boy Saban had made it pretty clear who's in charge, and Sankey's not happy. He was wanting to go to 9. We're going to talk all about that. All right, now we've been talking about this for weeks and weeks, and I originally thought we were going to go to the 9 game, but then I kind of, over the last month or two, started moving more towards the 8. And we're going to talk all about that at the end. I'm going to talk to you about Nick Saban and Sankey and all of that. But let's go over the story first and try to get the information down quickly here. It says the SEC to play 8 conference games, and once Texas and Oklahoma join next year, it says the SEC will reevaluate its format in 2025. Says temporarily pausing long-term conversations about whether to increase its intra-conference schedule. The SEC on Thursday decided to continue playing 8 league games, same as they've always done, for the 2024 season as Texas and Oklahoma join, which will make us 16 teams. The one-year stopgap schedule will also see the removal of divisional standings with the league's top 2 teams meeting the SEC championship, which makes a lot more sense. That way you've got the 2 best teams playing each other. I don't have a real issue with that. Talks about how it's been in East and West divisions. We know that. Now it'll just be 1 division. There's been a lot of talk about the SEC moving to 9. But with this 8, obviously you're going to meet every team every other year, home and away, guaranteed. And with 8, you'll probably have 1 permanent opponent. But I don't think they're going to do that this year. Coming up, I think what they're going to do is just fix it the way they want it. So they'll probably keep the Tennessee-Alabama game, I would think. I don't know about Tennessee-Georgia. I don't know about Tennessee-Florida. It's all up in the air right now, but we're going to find out about that coming up. It says the 8 games will be randomly assigned based on fairness and balance, according to Commissioner Greg Sankey, who added that consideration will be given to traditional rivalries such as Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, and probably Tennessee-Alabama. Beyond the 8 conference games, SEC teams will be mandated to play at least 1 non-conference Power 5 like they've always done, etc. It says the format was approved by SEC presidents and chancellors who received recommendations from their athletic directors, who probably made the decisions. It says we've been engaged in planning the entry of Oklahoma, blah, 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 blah. Who gives a crap? Creating a 1-year schedule will provide a longer on-ramp to manage football scheduling around existing non-conference commitments of our members. It will also provide additional time to understand the impact of, and this is important, expanded college football playoff, and engage with our media partners as we determine the appropriate long-term plan, blah, 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 blah. It says during this time of change, our fans will continue to enjoy traditional rivalries and begin to see new matchups. Sankey said the obstacles of moving to the 9-game conference became too big to overcome at this juncture. The biggest one is uncertainty with ESPN, if they'd even pay for a 9th game. ESPN's struggling financially. They made the decision to get heavily involved in politics, which I'm not doing that here. I'm just telling you that when you do that in your sports channel, it's risky because you're going to alienate people either on the left or the right. And so they decided to get in politics, and now they don't have their viewerships way down, and they're having to let a lot of people go. They just don't have the money. So whether they'd pay for that 9th game, they probably wouldn't, and they would want it for free. And they've already got a big contract, the SEC, as you know, like $812 million a year or something. So the SEC probably want $920. You know, they'd want another 12, 13% more money, and ESPN's over there going, no way.
No way.
There's also the consideration of the impact on college football playoff. If you play a 9th game, what's going to happen, there's going to be, 7 more losses or 8 more losses for SEC teams. Well, that's definitely going to impact their ability to reach the playoff. So a lot of teams are like, I don't want to be the guy standing at number 13, 14, 15, 16 and be barely out because I lost to Georgia at the last minute on the 9th game added. So that's part of it. The other right here, and this is going to impact all the bottom half of the SEC, is bowl eligibility. Because if you're on the bottom of the totem pole, whether you're Vanderbilt or Mississippi State or maybe you're Missouri or whatever, if you're the coach and you don't make a bowl game, you're probably going to get fired or you're going to be on the hot seat. If you make a bowl game, you might be fine. So it can make a huge difference because people want bowl games. The fan base demand it, especially in the SEC. So that's a big factor that Sankey doesn't see. Well, obviously he does see it. And here it says some schools would make 8 figures in additional ticket revenue alone by playing an extra home game every other year, but you're giving up a game too. So it says despite that potential windfall, a majority question the benefit of playing that additional game. See, he's mad. He's upset about it. He's saying they're too stupid to understand that he made more money. No, they necessarily would not have, because they might have had to get rid of a game and pay a penalty, several $1 million at times, if you've got to cancel a ball game with like Kent State or whoever it is you've got coming. And then again, all the other issues that we just brought up. I think a pause makes perfect sense personally. And obviously Nick Saban thought that, and we're going to get into that here in a minute. It says, Sankey, though, has no concerns about criticism of the SEC's decision to stay at 8. Nobody's shying away from anything. We just did not add another game at the time of transition. If you're playing in the SEC, you don't have to make excuses about anything. We are the toughest conference to play in. We are brutal. If you survive this league, whether it's 8 games or 9 games, you don't have to apologize to any other conference. I'll give you a prime example. We played a rock-solid Clemson team that won their conference championship. They played 2 games outside of the ACC that were in the SEC. They went 0-2. Okay, they won every game but one in the ACC and won the conference championship. No problem. No problem. But they waltzed into the SEC. Yeah, they walked in.
You walk over, but you're limping back.
And they limped back because that's how the SEC is. And look, that wasn't the absolute top level. The top level, whether you like it or not, is Georgia and Alabama. That's just a fact. Look at the last 10 years. Tennessee, LSU, teams like that, we're just below that. We're scratching like crazy and knocking on the door to try to get to the top, but we're not there yet. And South Carolina, who also beat Clemson, they're kind of the middle of the road as well. So that's the reality of being in the SEC. So anybody wants to say, oh, you're chicken to play night. That's funny. That's rich coming from any other conference. So whatever, I don't want to hear that nonsense.
Shut up!
But what it boiled down to is this. Nick Saban is very powerful, and he has been advocating for 9 games for years and years and years. Well, he got his little rear end whooped by LSU and Tennessee this year. He saw the conference setup was going to have 3 permanent opponents, and it was going to be Auburn, Tennessee, and probably LSU. And he's sitting there going, 2 of those teams whooped me this year. And I don't like this. This is not what Nick Saban likes. Nick Saban likes to win every game and be set up to win. And he's had a lot of success doing so. And he didn't like the setup.
That's not fair.
Don't raise your voice to me.
So he changed his mind. Well, all of a sudden, when he changed his mind, that gave cover to every other team. Because they could all go, yeah, we feel the same way. We don't even part of that extra game against the SEC. What if it's Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Tennessee, or whatever? That's almost a guaranteed loss for a lot of teams. And again, you can lose your job. You can lose millions of dollars worth of bowl game stuff. Your fan base is unhappy. The athletic director can get fired. The president can get fired. I mean, it's football in the SEC is very important. And if you don't think it is, you don't live in the SEC world. You just don't understand it.
Scott, you just don't get it, do you? You don't.
And Greg Sankey has been pushing for 9. He's the build it and they will come. If we add the 9th game, ESPN would, they'd pony up the dough. I don't think they will. The politics of that are not good while they're laying 7,000 people off or how many people they're laying off and letting people go. And then all of a sudden they come up with an extra $100 million for the SEC. And they're going to go, they're already getting $800+ million. Why are you going to make it $900 million? While you're laying us all off. And then the media gets involved and it just gets ugly. So that's what it is. But Sankey's not happy at all. He's ticked off. He's accepting it for a year, but he doesn't want it to go any longer than that. Well, that's up to ESPN. If they're willing to pay an extra $100 million or so, we might be able to get this worked out. But if it's still going to be the same amount of money, you just give us the extra game. I don't see any of the teams agreeing to that. And I think they maybe did have a vote, and it was like 9-5 or something like that. So that's just how it is. When it came down to voting, most teams said, no way, I'm not doing this. So there you are. So if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's me know to continue to cover the Vols and the SEC and all this good stuff. And if you have not subscribed, it's right here on your right, my left. Just boom, hit that little button. I would appreciate it. And my most recent video right here that YouTube algorithm thinks you will love. Check that video out right there. I would certainly appreciate it. And we will see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.